Oh. This is Anthony Favel. Late night with Savage.
Late night with Savages, Anthony Favel. How are you?
Not too bad.
Well, that flute really tickles your spirit when you play.
Yeah, it's. I'm changing my style.
Are you?
Yeah. Well, the bigger the room, the larger the sound.
How many flutes you got going on?
Well, I got these two in specific, and I got several at home, like different, like Latin American, some Asiatic, and some that I've made myself. So out of bamboo.
Wasn't it you that I saw who actually bought a flute that was African, or?
Oh, I bought
yeah, I remember that.
I went to Tom Lee's, and I totally forgot about it. I went there and I saw the flute. It was a traditional native flute, just like the flutes.
Yeah,
like these flutes.
Seemingly.
And I bought it. I took it home, and it's in the key of G.
Yeah.
And it's similar to the other flute that I have.
Yeah.
But I figured this is a junior flute. So I was just muddling around with it, checking it out, trying to figure out the scales. And then I looked on the back, and there was a little sticker on the back that said, "Made in Pakistan."
Oh, really? Yeah.
So I was really insulted, but I sort of figured it out because it did have some posting in it. So I figured what it was this gentleman that made the flute was probably did spend some time in Canada or in the States, and basically tutored under somebody and took that skill took it back to Pakistan.
What a beautiful exchange in a way, right?
It is kind of cultural
appropriation.
Cultural
a little bit.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
But I figured he made the flute well enough that he probably had been tutored under his own cultural traditions, and so he acquired these traditions here in North America, and he took them back.
He adopted and adapted.
He adopted and adapted, and it wasn't the best flute. I mean, it is more like a trainer flute.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's not to be taken as seriously as a flute that has been made by hand by a traditional flute player or
yes.
Traditional bundle keeper or something, medicine man, right?
Yeah, so I figure he was probably tutored, and it cost $150, which I thought was great.
Yeah,
which was cheap considering how expensive the flutes can get, because they can go up to $6,000 to $10,000.
I always say it's about the intention. I think sometimes we take appropriation and protocol a little too far. We end up kicking ourselves in the foot, setting ourselves back up in the industry, another 5-10 years. And it can be problematic, and it's a hard issue to look at. Aside from that, though, how long have you been playing the flute for, Anthony?
Since I was about 4 or 5 years old, I'd say.
So 50 years?
I started out with woodwinds. And these your regular. I started out.
Did you start off with a recorder?
A wooden recorder, in the key of G.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got to junior high, probably grade 5, 6, I started playing clarinets, then tenor sax. I didn't play the classical traditional flute because you're in an orchestra.
That's not savage enough.
No, but it was what it was. And I always was, I was always attracted to traditional flutes, but it was not something. It was back then, culturally, it wasn't something that you could just acquire, and there wasn't any guilds.
Yeah. It wasn't made available to you.
No, it wasn't. No,
you were fostered out, weren't you? Or adopted?
Yeah. So I mean, the residential school, I was in foster care before I went to residential school. And after, but they didn't really encourage cultural anything.
You got to
usual.
But you did get to tumble, right? Do a little bit of gymnastics, and play in an papa band, right?
I mean, even in Gordon's residential school, at the age of 5, they used to have some sort of cultural activity,
Yeah.
once or twice a year. I mean, they had the Indian games in
Like
the winter
bone
time.
games?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, we got to ride the skidoos and do winter stuff.
Yeah.
And and in summertime they'd bring in the powwow groups and stuff like that. And sometimes they'd let you play, but we weren't allowed to sing. We weren't allowed to talk our language.
Yeah.
So I was sitting down with a couple of young guys, and they had their hand drums, and they started singing, and they're all trying to encourage us to sing, and nobody would sing because everybody was afraid
to be Indian.
to end up in the dean's office and get spanked.
For being Indian.
Yeah, and so I grabbed the drum because and I just grabbed it and I just started singing.
Yeah.
And halfway through a couple of solos, the shame hits you. Mm-hmm. So you stop.
You back off.
You back off.
You
and
put that drum down.
And the older boys will go, keep it up, keep going. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you don't have it because you're alone. You don't have, and these boys and these kids you're with, you've never met them before. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of complicated. They come from very complex families. Lots of abuse, and so all that abuse that they were getting at home, they were the intercultural abuse they were bringing to the school, and then to be just totally terrified of your own well-being.
Yeah.
And not to speak your own culture. If you were going to speak, you could speak slang. So you could speak swear words were accepted, but the actual language itself was not accepted.
Like you would not say miigwech.
Yeah, you wouldn't say miigwech or tensei or stuff
but
like that. But
you could say awas, like get away. Awas!
Yeah.
Right?
Because that would be considered like slang.
Yeah.
So but then in most of the slang words are suggested to body parts as an insult. So there wasn't any like Germanic, the F word.
Or the C word.
Or the C word. It was more...
Like Christy Clark.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So that was back
right,
in the day.
Anthony?
Yes.
Okay. So enough of the alphabet.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So how long then? Okay, so then you said you've been playing that flute since you're 5 years old.
Yeah.
When I first met you was at the Vigilance performance. It was during the Oka crises. I held a 12-hour event there. You helped me close that circle.
Yeah.
At the end of the night, it was at 11 o'clock. You brought a drum out.
Yeah.
And you started banging on the drum and offering a prayer song to help us close the day. And immediately after that, the police came and they shone their lights in our prayer circle.
Yeah.
And then they proceeded to bust open our circle. They came in and told us that we shouldn't be there, that we're making a bunch of noise. How would we like it if we were paying $300 a night for a room and had to listen to this racket, I think they called it.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
It is. It's an insult, obviously, but obviously they didn't have, and in the police force, they didn't have any cultural sensitivity training, nothing like that. So, and it's only been recent that they've been doing this.
Well, they won't even touch a sacred fire now. They've come a long way.
Yeah. But, the whole profiling thing, they still got lots to work on that issue.
Yeah.
But that specific gathering, you stand up for your rights, but that doesn't mean they're going to hear you, and that doesn't mean they're going to respect you, and they just want to trample over your culture. And, the people at the Georgia Hotel, they have more rights than us to display our support for, Oka. And
well, our previous guest works in tourism. A lot of these people pay big money to come and look at a totem pole and get close to Indians. I think, if I were them, I would just have loved it that I was able to witness some direct action. back in those days, like you mentioned, how often would you hear anybody in the middle of a city playing a drum and singing and chanting the way that you were that evening?
Yeah. I mean, now you can, and I do hear them singing on the corner over here. Sometimes you see
Erica Grant and her husband.
Just out there singing on the corner, hanging out.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that back then.
No.
You couldn't, it wasn't,
Not even close to being acceptable. And that was just in 1990. That wasn't that long ago.
And it would be considered a sound violation. Blah blah blah. You'd get a ticket.
Causing a disturbance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't see you at very many direct action movements as of lately. I see you at the market. And can you tell me a little bit about your binning experience and the history of binners?
I've been, I don't know, that all that stuff goes back to like being on the reserve, being impoverished, living in a mud shack cabin, chopping wood, hauling water, the regular stuff back in the day. It was pretty normal back then, and wagons and horses. So me, my musher, my grandpa would, and the family would go out with the kids, and we'd go and go down the roads, the roads. We're not talking highways. We're talking gravel roads, whatever.
Yeah, and, dirt roads.
So we'd pick the bottles that were slung all over the ditches.
Yeah.
So that's how I started doing it.
Okay.
So as a little kid on a wagon.
So you had like a bottle in one hand and a flute in the other.
And cans and you take this. And then later on, we started doing it in residential school to raise money so that we could go to the camp over here or this or that. Because we had, we go and pick stones for the farmer, and they'd pay us a bunch of money to pick the stones.
Yeah.
Or we take a truck and we go out the highway and we pick bottles. That's how I got into it as a little child.
Yeah.
So I didn't really start doing the binning bottle thing till after I did a little stint with Child and Family Services, working a high-risk caseload, children at risk. I was burnt out, and it was a difficult job, and I was working for friends of mine, which
isn't advisable.
It isn't, but not always. I mean, you might love them, you might get along with them, but it can
change the relationship.
It changes the relationship, and I was burnt out. So, and all of a sudden unemployed.
Yeah.
So I started becking and binning and doing that, and so that's how I got into the market. So I've been doing this for.
But there's actually a binning society now, isn't there?
I forget it. What you call it? Project. Binners Project.
Binners Project.
Yeah, and Gavin, he's the manager of it, and we work together. I collaborate with him as well, and so they're trying to get that together. But since there's no events, they're not out and about as much. So because they come to gatherings.
All right, and then they collect bottles.
They collect the bottles, whether Kitsilano Festival.
Yeah.
All the festivals in Vancouver.
I see.
So they would do that. They'd be contracted. And since there's nothing like that anymore.
So COVID's changed things and switched things up a lot.
Oh yeah.
It's affected your economy, your livelihood.
Yeah. I mean, they no longer do the fireworks because I work fireworks.
Yeah.
I did that for 5-6 years, and it was a good economy for me.
Yeah.
And anybody that's a
binner.
A binner that's economically
Yeah, you can make a lot of money. I've heard of people that find wallets full of money and jewelry in bins, not just the bottles.
They find everything. I mean, I found gold, diamonds. I found you name it. I found it. Cell phones, and I'm the kind of guy. If I find a cell phone, because I walk around a lot, I'll phone the cell.
Yeah.
they'll phone me back. Nominal fee. You come and pick your cell phone up.
Yeah.
I'll give you your phone back, but it is a service.
Okay.
It is not I'm just giving this back to you for free. No,
Yeah.
it is a service because it's, you're handling it.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
you're being honest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't find a lot of wallets.
No.
Not at all. And if I do, I do a lot of Kitsilano, so I find a wallet, it's usually already empty.
Yeah.
I'll go and I'll take it and drop it off at the condo or the apartment, whatever. Mm-hmm. A lot of keys. But yeah, you find a lot of stuff, and then there's a lot of people out there that put stuff out, especially moving. So so it is recycling. You're recycling stuff that people, and some people are so opulent the new product, the next line, they got
consumerism.
They just will take that, whatever last year's
and it's
model.
Practically new already.
Yeah,
so.
it's practically, use it for a year. Your coffee maker, they had to get the new one with the grinder and the blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So that's the way it goes.
So you recycle the goods, and some people donate to you as well.
Yes.
And then you take your donations to the market and you turn it over, or you sell it, you make a living. But you're also painting.
Yeah.
And you're also continuing playing music. And COVID is basically, it's got you at a standstill, but at the same time, you're becoming more creative than you have been in years. It's like a good thing for you, I think.
It's isolation. It's isolation.
But we were born in isolation. Isolation is where I live.
I'm an extrovert. I'm not an introvert.
You're not an extrovert.
I've got friends. I live with 30 artists, and I'll tell you,
I'm shy.
I'm 30. The 30 artists out of 30 artists, I figured there's maybe 4 of us out of the whole co-op that are actually active.
But you're a pink buffalo, aren't you?
We're out there. We're doing stuff, and I've got friends in my hood.
Yeah.
That lock themselves up for 6 months. I mean, seriously. Mm-hmm. And there's some people I don't see. Some of my co-op members, they come and they go. They got a cabin on one of the little islands. One girl's working up in Powell River. She's a metal worker. She's doing that. So you never see her. You never see Tom.
Yeah, you lived in an artist loft, right?
Yeah. And so then Sally, my neighbor, she's got her boyfriend in over there by Stanley Park. So she's hardly around. I see her like maybe once a week to water her plants or whatever she does. And basically everybody is isolated, and everybody's doing everything online. And I'm not a techie kind of person, so I don't do.
Well, you don't have to be. He's the techie person.
Yeah.
We're the talent.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is where things can turn around for you. I want you to let our listeners know how they can contact you, so you can come and play the flute for them on their next virtual or the festival or their next production. How do we contact you, Anthony?
Well, you can give me a call. That's the best way.
What's your number?
My text is not, I haven't connected up my text yet. Anthony McNabb Favel, 604-721-5699. And you could just call me during regular office hours. I got a couple of, I got art. I've done quite a bit of art lately, but I've got one buyer, and I got another friend's putting my stuff online. And it's difficult to find a manager that you can trust in the art industry where you're not getting ripped off. I mean, 40%, they get 60%, you get 40%. Just doesn't. Yeah. It just doesn't work.
Best we do direct to Anthony, and everybody wins.
It's not me putting all that time in, and they get 60% of my profit.
Of your effort.
And I get the 40% is not worth my.
That's not going to work with Anthony. So be sure to get a hold of Anthony McNabb Favel. He is of Cree descent. He plays a mean flute and can paint up a storm. Thank you so much for joining us today, Anthony. It's been
Want me
a
to
pleasure.
play a little note?
Yeah, please sing us out.
All right. This is in the key of G. All right. Thank you.